The war had ended, but the silence it left behind was worse than the noise. On the outer edge of Sector 9, a rescue ship hovered over the ruins of a secret alien research base. The air was heavy with smoke and dust. Dead bodies lay scattered across the metal floor. Alien scientists, guards, even children. They were too late again. Dr. Elias Monroe stepped off the ship and looked around. He was a human doctor from Earth, sent as part of a peacekeeping mission. His suit beeped, warning of low oxygen, but he ignored it. He had seen too much death in this war. He didn't want to see more. One of the soldiers called out, "Sir, over here, something's moving." Elias ran toward the voice. Lying between two crushed machines was a small alien girl. She looked barely 16 in human years, her skin a pale blue, her hair silver and tangled. Her chest was rising and falling very slowly. She was alive, but just barely. Her body was covered in cuts and burns. Her breathing was weak, and her pulse almost gone. Elias knelt beside her, scanned her vitals, and frowned. "She's not going to make it without help," he said quietly. The alien translator device, still hanging around her neck, suddenly clicked on. A broken voice came through. "Royal blood. Only royal blood can save." Elias looked at the others, confused. "What does that mean?" he asked. An alien medic stepped forward, nervous. "She is royal," he whispered. "From the high bloodline of the Zalari. Only blood that matches her purity can heal her. But all others like her are dead." Elias stared at the girl. He didn't know her name, but something in her face reminded him of his little sister, innocent, scared and too young to die like this. He scanned her blood type. Type Z2, unknown to Earth. Still, he ran his own scan. Shockingly, there was a match, nearly 80% compatible. "That's impossible," said the alien medic. "No human blood has ever matched a Zalari." Elias took a deep breath. "She needs a transfusion now, or she dies," he said. The others hesitated. "Doctor, it could kill you, or her, or both," one warned. "No one has ever mixed blood like this before." Elias didn't answer. He sat beside her, rolled up his sleeve, and prepared the transfusion kit. "If she dies, the last royal bloodline ends here," he said. "I won't let that happen." As the blood started to flow from his arm to hers, the girl trembled. Her glowing blue veins lit up slightly. Her heartbeat, once faint, began to grow stronger. Elias felt dizzy, but he stayed awake, watching her closely. Minutes passed, then an hour. Slowly, her skin began to return to its natural color. The burns on her body started to fade. Her fingers twitched, and her lips moved as if whispering. Then, her eyes opened, bright silver eyes with a hint of gold. They stared straight at Elias. She didn't look confused or scared. Instead, she looked calm, focused, like she had known him forever. "You," she whispered, her voice rough and soft. "You gave me life." Elias blinked, shocked. He expected confusion, maybe even fear, but not this. She slowly reached for his hand. "You are mine now," she said, then closed her eyes and fell asleep. Elias sat there speechless. He looked around, and the others were silent too. The alien medic stepped closer and whispered, "Doctor, you may have just bonded with a Zalari royal." "What does that mean?" Elias asked, his voice shaky. The medic didn't answer. He just looked at the sleeping girl with fear and awe. Elias looked down at her again. He had come to save a life, but now it felt like his life was the one about to change forever. Outside, the sun of the alien world rose slowly. Its light touched the wreckage gently, and inside the ruined lab, a new chapter of history had just begun. The alien girl had no name, no memories, no voice strong enough to speak more than a whisper. But one thing was clear. Wherever Dr. Elias Monroe went, she followed. Not like someone lost or confused, but like someone who had chosen him, deeply, completely. She walked silently behind him through the narrow corridors of the space station where she was recovering. eyes fixed on his back, hands slightly clenched, like she was afraid he might disappear. The other doctors and soldiers watched with quiet curiosity. They whispered, "She won't let him out of her sight." Some even joked, "Looks like the doctor has a royal shadow," but Elias didn't laugh. He was starting to feel something strange himself. Whenever she was near, his chest felt warmer, his skin tingled, and his dreams had changed. He saw silver oceans, alien skies, a heartbeat inside light. He saw her, always her. One morning, Elias entered the medical bay to check her vitals. She was already awake, sitting up, watching him with glowing eyes. As he scanned her body, she gently touched his arm. "I dreamed of you," she said softly. Elias froze. Her voice was no longer broken. It was soft, but strong. "Do you remember your name?" he asked. She blinked slowly. "I don't know, but I remember." "You?" Later that day, she wandered away from the medical wing and followed him into the cafeteria. Everyone turned, staring. She ignored them, walked straight to him, and sat down beside him without a word. When someone tried to hand her food, she pushed it away. She only ate when Elias did. The station commander noticed and asked Elias to speak in private. "She thinks she belongs to you." The commander said, "She's forming a bond, like imprinting, maybe even telepathic." Elias shook his head. "I didn't do anything except save her." The commander gave him a strange look. "You didn't just save her, doctor. You gave her your blood. That might have done more than save her body." That night, Elias walked past her room and stopped when he saw her standing at the window. Looking at the stars, she whispered without turning, "There's something growing inside me." Elias felt a chill in his spine. "What do you mean?" She turned slowly, her hands resting on her lower stomach. "I feel it, warm and alive, like it's part of me." Her skin began to glow softly, blue and gold threads running along her veins. Elias scanned her again, just to be sure. What he found made his heart race. There were 2 heartbeats inside her now. One was hers, strong and steady. The other, smaller, faster, new. "No," Elias whispered, backing away. "This isn't possible." She looked at him with calm eyes. "You gave me life," she said again. "So I carry it now." The medical data was impossible. Alien biology couldn't support human reproduction, especially not from blood. But the scans didn't lie. She was carrying something, a living being, and part of it was human. Elias ran tests again and again all night. Each result came back the same. The child was not fully human nor fully Zalari. It was something new. No one had ever seen such a thing before. By morning, whispers had started. Other doctors noticed the strange glow in the girl's skin, the way she held her belly protectively. She didn't speak much, but her eyes followed Elias everywhere. She looked at him not with fear, but with devotion, not like a patient sees a doctor, but like a mother sees the father of her child. Elias sat in the observation room, his head in his hands. He had only tried to save her, but now she was carrying something that should not exist, something the galaxy might not accept. A child born from blood, a child who could be hunted, feared, or worse, used. Suddenly, alarms blared. Elias ran to the medical bay and found her on the floor. Breathing hard, her body glowed again, brighter than before. When he touched her, the glow calmed. She looked up at him, sweat on her brow. "He's afraid," she whispered. "He knows he's not safe here." Elias looked into her glowing eyes and made a silent promise. "I don't know what you are," he said softly, "or what this child will be, but I'll protect you both." Outside the station, far across the stars, eyes were already watching. Satellites picked up the energy wave from her body. And someone, somewhere, whispered, "The hybrid lives." Inside the quiet halls of Station Theta 7, life was growing in silence. It was not supposed to happen. Not between a human and an alien. Not from blood. Not from science. And yet, it was happening. Lyra. Once the dying alien girl was now stronger every day. Her silver hair shimmered with gold strands. Her eyes glowed like morning stars. But her belly... That was the change no one could ignore. Each day it grew, faster than normal. Doctors whispered, "It's not just a pregnancy, it's a transformation." Dr. Elias Monroe sat outside her room. Staring at her latest scan, his blood had healed her. Yes, but somehow it had also created life. A new life, half human, half Zalari, the first of its kind. He didn't know if he should feel proud or afraid, because now others knew and they were coming. A message came in the morning from Central Command. Short and cold. Quarantine the subject, isolate the doctor. Do not allow birth without approval. Elias clenched his jaw. Approval? From who, for what? They didn't see a child, they saw a weapon. Lyra woke up sweating. She clutched her stomach, her face pale. "He's scared," she said softly. "He feels everything, they're watching us." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder, trying to stay calm. "No one will touch you," he said. "I promise," but his promise was already breaking. That night, a black ship docked at the edge of the station. No lights, no call sign, just silence. A team of 6 stepped out, dressed in black armor with the Earth symbol erased. They weren't here to help, they were hunters. Station cameras caught them moving without sound. They disabled doors, bypassed security. They were heading toward the medical wing. Inside, Lyra sat quietly, holding her swollen belly. The child was not just growing, he was awake. She could feel his thoughts, soft and warm, but also something else, power. "I don't want to be born in fear." The voice whispered inside her mind. "I want to be free." As the black armored team reached the corridor, Elias stood in front of the door. "No one gets in," he said firmly. The leader raised a stun weapon. "She's carrying a hybrid that could start a war." "Doctor, step aside." Elias didn't move. "She's not a weapon, she's a person. And that baby, he's innocent." The leader didn't care. "We can't take that risk." Before anyone could fire, a wave of light blasted through the wall behind them. A pressure wave knocked everyone off their feet. The hallway lights exploded in sparks. And in the middle stood Lyra, her body glowing, eyes full of fire. "Leave," she said. But her voice sounded like it came from the stars. The soldiers fell back, terrified. Elias ran to her, grabbing her hands. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded, barely. "He protected us," she whispered. "He's not born yet, but he's strong." Later, the commander of the station met with Elias in secret. "You have to go," the commander said. "They'll come back stronger." With permission to take her by force, Elias felt sick. "There's nowhere to go," he said. "There is," the commander replied, handing him a small black keycard. "Take the old freighter in Bay 9. It's off the grid, no tracking, get out." Before the council votes to terminate, that night, Elias helped Lyra into the freighter. Her breathing was slower, heavier. "He's almost ready," she whispered. "But he's still scared." Elias looked out the window at the stars. "I am too," he said, as the ship left the station quietly. The alert hadn't even gone out yet. No one noticed until it was too late, and by then, Earth Command had already marked Elias as a traitor across the galaxy. Empires received the same message. The hybrid child exists, and the humans failed to stop it. Some sent ships, others sent assassins, and a few sent prayers because they believed the prophecy. A child born of 2 bloods shall carry light or shadow. Now everyone wanted to know, what would this child become? But only Elias and Lyra knew the truth. He was not made to destroy. He was made from one simple act, an act of kindness, of courage, of blood. Now that child was growing, and soon the galaxy would hear his first cry. The ship drifted through the black sea of stars, silent and slow, its engines whispered like tired lungs, each sound fading into deep space. Inside, Lyra lay resting on the small medbed. Her skin glowed faintly. Like moonlight trapped beneath glass, Elias sat beside her, watching the life he had accidentally created grow stronger with each passing hour. They had been running for days, no signals, no contact, just empty space, but even here, danger followed them. He could feel it. Some nights he woke up sweating, hearing a heartbeat that wasn't his own. It echoed inside his chest, fast, powerful, alien. Then one night the silence broke. Lyra opened her eyes suddenly and gasped. Elias jumped. "What's wrong?" She clutched her belly, trembling. "He spoke," she whispered. "The child. He spoke." Elias blinked in confusion. Lyra, are you sure it wasn't a dream? She shook her head. No, it was clear, inside my mind like he was awake. Her voice shook with awe and fear. He said, I am not a mistake, I am the bridge between two worlds. Elias froze. He didn't believe in prophecies or mystic nonsense. But what she said made his heart pound. A bridge between two worlds, human and Zalari. What if the child was more than biology? What if something greater was happening? Later that night, Lyra sat quietly. Her hands glowed where they touched her belly. Elias noticed small sparks of energy flickering around her fingers. When she spoke, her voice carried a strange echo. He's learning fast, she said softly. He knows what we feel, what we fear. Elias rubbed his face. Tired and restless, he tried to focus on logic. On science, this isn't possible, it's just… But then he heard it. A faint whisper, not from her lips, from inside his own head. You gave me life, Elias Monroe. Now you must protect it. Elias jumped, staring at her. Did you just… She shook her head quickly. No, that wasn't me. The air around them shimmered slightly. The child was communicating not with sound but through thought. And not just to Lyra, he could reach Elias too. Elias swallowed hard. What are you? He whispered. The voice answered calmly. I am what both of you created. Blood and hope. The words were simple, yet carried a weight that felt ancient. Over the next few days, the voice became clearer. It spoke rarely, but every time it did, the ship's lights flickered. Sometimes the engines powered down for a few seconds, as if reacting to the child's pulse. Lyra began to draw strange symbols while she slept. Circles, stars, shapes no one had seen before. When she woke, she couldn't remember doing it. Elias began to fear what might happen when the baby was born. Would he destroy everything or save it? He didn't know anymore. He only knew one thing. Everyone would come for them soon. He had to find a place to hide then, as if the universe had heard his fear. A beacon signal appeared on their radar. It was faint, coming from a small moon ahead. A settlement, abandoned but still functional. Elias guided the ship toward it, landing quietly among frozen cliffs of white stone. Inside the old base, Lyra sat down and closed her eyes. He says we are safe here, she murmured. Elias looked around, confused. This place hasn't had power in years. How can he know that? She smiled faintly. Because he sees what we can't. Suddenly, the walls hummed, lights flickered, and power returned to the entire base. Machines came alive one by one, as if waking from a long sleep. Elias stared in disbelief. How did he… Lyra opened her eyes, glowing softly. He's helping us. For a moment there was peace. Elias fixed broken systems while Lyra rested. They shared food, spoke quietly, and tried to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could live like this. But peace never lasts. That night, the communication system turned on by itself. A hologram flickered into view. An old alien elder, face pale with worry. He spoke slowly. The council knows Elias Monroe. They know she carries the hybrid child. If it's born, the prophecy may come true, and the galaxy will burn. Then the signal cut. Elias looked at Lyra. Her eyes were wet, but not from fear. He's coming, she whispered. The one who doesn't want peace. The child's voice whispered again inside both their minds. Calm but serious. Do not run anymore, father, mother. The time to hide is ending. Elias stared at the cold stars outside the window. He felt small, powerless, yet somehow chosen. A human doctor and a dying alien girl had started something the universe couldn't stop now. He turned back to her and took her hand. If you're the bridge between two worlds, he said softly, then I'll be the one who holds it together. She smiled weakly. And I'll be the one who keeps it from breaking. Above them, the stars shifted, forming a line of light that stretched across the sky. It looked almost like a path, a bridge made of stars. And somewhere deep inside Lyra's belly, the child whispered one last thing that night. When I am born, everything will change. The moon was quiet, cold, and wrapped in shadows. Wind howled across empty metal towers. The abandoned base where Elias and Lyra hid had become more than shelter. It had become a cradle, a womb holding back a storm inside. Lights flickered as the child's energy pulsed stronger with each hour. Lyra's body trembled, her hands glowing faintly as she clutched her swollen belly. He's ready, she whispered, sweat on her brow. He wants to come. Elias stood close, tools and medical packs scattered across the floor. His hands were steady, but his heart was not. Outside, the universe was no longer silent. The signal sent by the ancient alien elder had spread. Warnings echoed across systems. The hybrid child is near birth. Capture or terminate, ships were launched. Old enemies joined hands out of fear. A new life was coming, and they would try to kill it before it could breathe. From the edge of the nearby asteroid belt, a black fleet approached the moon. 10 ships, no flags, no warnings, only one purpose. Destroy the child inside the base. Alarms screamed red. Elias checked the radar. They're coming fast, 15 minutes at most. He turned to Lyra, who lay on the floor breathing harder now. There's no time to run, he whispered. She smiled through the pain. We were never meant to run. He sealed the doors, locked every system, and prepared to fight. The old base wasn't strong, but it had defenses, auto turrets, shields, decoys. It had to be enough because the baby was coming, and Elias refused to let him be born in fear. The sky outside turned dark with the arrival of the enemy fleet. Red lights flickered across the surface of the moon. Missiles launched, energy blasts rained down, and the base shook like a ship trapped in a storm. Lyra cried out, her body arching as pain surged through her. Elias, she gasped. He ran to her side, holding her hand. I'm here, I'm not leaving. The child's voice echoed faintly inside their minds. It's time, but I need you both, don't let go. Suddenly, the room exploded with light, not from outside, but from within her. Her skin turned to gold. Her eyes pure white, the walls vibrated, and machines shut down one by one, unable to handle the surge. Outside, enemy soldiers landed on the surface. They stormed toward the base. Weapons drawn, but as they neared, the air cracked. A pulse shot out from the base, an invisible wave that knocked them all off their feet. Some screamed, clutching their heads. Others dropped their guns and ran back inside. Elias watched as Lyra rose slightly off the bed. She wasn't screaming anymore. She was glowing, surrounded by a soft storm of light and stardust. The child was no longer waiting. He was coming. And the universe was watching. Suddenly, the main screen in the control room lit up on its own. One of the attacking ships tried to send a warning, but the message was replaced by a voice. A child's voice, clear and calm. Stop. Or fall. The soldiers outside froze. The ships began to lose control. Systems crashing, lights flickering. Weapons powered down by themselves, and then the sky turned red. Not from fire, but from something beautiful. It shimmered like a curtain of blood and light across the stars. An aurora of energy born from the child's awakening. Elias felt a wave of warmth pass through his body. He looked down and saw Lyra holding a small figure in her arms. The child had been born. He was silent, but his eyes were open. They were gold, bright and ancient, not like a newborn, but like someone who had always been there, waiting. Lyra's voice broke softly. He's perfect. The baby reached for Elias. His tiny fingers touched Elias's chest. And for a moment, Elias saw everything, worlds at war, worlds at peace, timelines bending, choices branching. He saw himself, not as just a doctor, but as a protector. A father outside, the enemy fleet floated helplessly, their systems offline, their weapons useless, and a message pulsed across the stars. He has been born, the bridge now breathes. Choose your path, light or destruction. Inside the moon base, everything was quiet again. Lyra closed her eyes, exhausted but safe. Elias sat beside her, holding the child who had stopped a battle with his birth. He whispered softly, You changed everything, and you haven't even spoken a word. In the sky above, the red light faded into silver, but across the galaxy, fear and wonder had already begun to spread. Some would call the child hope, others would call him danger, but all would know his name soon. And in that moment, in that small, broken moon base, a family was born, a father, a mother, and a child who would shake the stars. The child was born, but peace did not come on the cold moon base. Elias held the newborn close to his chest. The baby looked up at him, not with the blank stare of a newborn, but with awareness, golden eyes that shimmered like stars. Calm and deep, he was quiet, peaceful, and full of power, but outside the galaxy was in chaos. The energy burst from his birth had been felt across systems, leaders, councils, pirates, and prophets all received the same signal. The hybrid child lives, and they did not agree on what should happen next. Some called him the Peaceborn, a sign of unity between species. Others called him Starbreaker, believing he would destroy all order, and some simply wanted him gone. Elias stood in the control room, watching intercepted messages fly in. Threats, warnings, even offers. One voice said, Surrender the child and receive sanctuary, another hissed. Hand him over or face planetary cleansing. His hands tightened on the rail. He had seen war, seen death, but never had he known that holding a baby could feel more dangerous than facing a battlefield. Behind him Lyra stood, her body weak but her spirit strong. She had just given birth, but her eyes were sharper than ever. He is not meant to be hidden forever, she whispered. He will be a voice, not a shadow. Elias turned to her, pain on his face. If we show him to the galaxy, they might kill him before he even speaks. Lyra looked down at her child, who was already beginning to sit up. He glowed softly in her arms, warm and alive. He doesn't want to hide either, she said quietly. Suddenly the base trembled, not from attack but from arrival. A single ship landed just beyond the outer ridge. It was sleek, silver, carrying the emblem of the Galactic Council. Elias watched the screen as a message came through. We come with peace and vote, let the Council see the child. Elias didn't answer. He stared at the baby, who now reached for the stars outside the window. The child turned his head toward him and whispered, not with voice, but mind. You have to choose, Father, show them hope. Or let fear rule. They boarded the ship together, Elias, Lyra, and the child. The journey was short but heavy. Elias felt every stare, every camera lens, every heartbeat waiting for a reason to pull a trigger. They entered the Grand Council Hall. All races were present. Humans, Zalari, Tharnak warriors, Silken Vunari priests, some stared in awe, some in fear. No one spoke. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady. This is not a weapon, this is a child. He held the baby up. The golden eyes scanned the room, and then the child did something no one expected. He floated. His body lifted gently from Elias's arms. Glowing with soft white light, he opened his small hand, and a pulse of warmth spread across the hall. Suddenly hatred faded, eyes softened, breathing slowed. The room fell into silence, not forced, but peaceful, and then the child spoke. Not in one voice, but in many, each being heard him in their own language. I am not the end of your worlds, I am what begins after. Some wept. Others knelt, even the hardest faces softened. But one did not. A general from Earth stood up, his eyes cold and bitter. He had lost family during the alien wars. He did not believe in peace. This is a trick, he growled. That child is a time bomb in goldskin. He pulled a hidden weapon, a beam launcher aimed at the child's chest. The council gasped. Lyra screamed. Elias moved. Too late. The shot fired. A thin line of red light crossed the room, but it never reached the child. The baby raised one hand calmly. The beam stopped in midair, like time froze around it. Then it bent, turned, and gently touched the floor. Vanished. Everyone stared, frozen in silence. The child floated back into Elias's arms, then whispered into everyone's minds, I will not be your fear, but I will be your mirror. The general collapsed to his knees. Stunned, he wept, not because he lost, but because, for the first time, he saw the truth. He wasn't facing a monster. He was facing the child his enemies never had the chance to raise. After that moment, the council voted by majority. They declared, the child shall live, protected, not imprisoned. Watched but never feared, but not everyone agreed. Outside the hall, far across the stars, warships still gathered in secret. There were still those who wanted him gone, and now they would come harder, faster, more ruthless. Elias held the child as they left the chamber. Lyra beside him, strong once more. The choice had been made. He would not hide. But by choosing light, they had stepped into a deeper shadow. The sky outside was clear, but the war was not over, and the child, glowing softly in Elias's arms, whispered gently, one more path remains, Father. The one who wants me dead is close. The ship was quiet as it returned to the moon base. Elias held his son close to his chest. Lyra sat beside him, her hand gently resting on the child's back. He was calm, glowing softly, but his golden eyes stared into the stars, watching. He already knew the final threat had arrived. The Galactic Council had voted for peace, but not all agreed. One man still refused to believe. General Eric Dane, a war hero from Earth, he had seen too many friends die in alien wars, and he believed the hybrid child was a ticking time bomb, a danger that needed to be erased. Auric had left Earth Command quietly, stolen a Dreadnought-class warship, loaded with experimental weapons powerful enough to burn a moon to dust. His message was clear. If no one will stop it, I will, back at the moon base. Elias stood in the control room. The warning came too late. A single red dot blinked on the radar fast. Direct, deadly, Lyra gasped, holding her son tight. He's coming, she whispered. The one filled with hate. Elias stared at the screen, his voice low and firm. Then we end this. Here and now. He handed the child to Lyra and ran to the old weapons system. It was barely working, but it was all they had. He activated the last shields, the last auto turrets, the last emergency barriers. Everything. Lyra followed him, her face calm but strong. We stand together, she said. Elias nodded. Always. The baby looked at them both and spoke in their minds. I don't want blood, but I won't let you fall. Then the sky cracked. Eric's dreadnought arrived, its massive shadow covering the base. It didn't wait. Missiles launched, lasers fired. The ground shook, walls cracked, and fire rained from above. But the base held, and from its heart a wave of golden energy burst out. The child's light. Protecting them, Eric's voice boomed through the speakers. You let that thing be born, Elias. You think it can feel love? It's not a child, it's a mistake. Elias stared up at the sky. No, he whispered. He's more human than you. With one hand on the console, Elias opened a direct channel. This is Dr. Elias Monroe. You want someone to blame? Blame me, but you won't touch my son. Inside the dreadnought. Eric's crew hesitated. They saw the glow coming from the base. They felt the warmth. Some even cried without knowing why, but Eric shouted, Fire everything. The main cannon powered up, bright. Deadly final. Elias ran to the top of the base. Standing tall under the open sky, Lyra followed. Holding the baby wrapped in a glowing cloth, wind roared, dust flew, and the sky turned orange from energy building above. Then the child floated upward, tiny arms out, eyes closed. He spoke into every mind across the battlefield. Human. Alien soldier enemy I will not destroy. But I will defend. The cannon fired. A beam of death screamed toward the surface, faster than sound. But it never hit. The child raised his hand. A dome of pure light exploded outward. The beam broke apart like glass hitting stone. Silence followed, not a sound from the dreadnought. Not a sound from the ground. Then Eric's ship shut down completely. Systems dead, weapons useless. The lights flickered and died, and Eric himself collapsed to the floor. Weeping, he saw his daughter's face, not fear, not war, but peace. The battle was over, not through force, but through something far more powerful, mercy. Elias walked toward the child and picked him up gently. He looked into his son's golden eyes and smiled. You didn't hurt anyone, he whispered. You saved them. Lyra stood beside them, tears running down her cheeks. He's not just the bridge between worlds, she said. He is the light. In the days that followed, messages came from every corner of space. People wanted to meet the child, not fear him. They didn't see a weapon anymore. They saw a miracle. Years passed. The moon base became a sanctuary, a place where humans and aliens came to learn, to heal, to share, and at the center of it all stood Elias, Lyra and their son Alien, the boy who glowed, the boy who stopped a war before he could even walk. Elias was no longer just a doctor. He was a legend, a father who gave his blood to save a life and in return gained a family that would change the galaxy. And sometimes, when the stars aligned just right, people swore they could hear the soft voice of a child, whispering through the wind, I was born from love, and I will not let hate win.